is I, Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue our discussions on the lands, legends, planes, and planeswalkers of Magic the Gathering, introducing you to the various worlds, world settings, and things in the worlds of Magic that give it its life and essence and show you some of the amazing storylines that they have shown. Today I'm introducing to you a new legend, one that was key to two entire blocks of Magic the Gathering. Kamahl the Barbarian, who was, as I said, an important character throughout the Odyssey blocks, and his story was completely interwoven with that of the false goddess Korona, which was integral to what was going on sort of behind the scenes in these two blocks of storylines. So it's him that is front and center in these storylines. So who is Kamahl? Kamahl was a human barbarian from Nuar village in the Pardic Mountains of the Otaria continent in Dominaria. Otaria was a continent that wasn't introduced until Odyssey. It was affected, of course, by the Phyrexian invasion, by the Ice Age, everything up until now, but we weren't introduced until now about this continent. So Kamahl was actually the brother of Jeska, which would become a very important figure, and the student, the pupil of Balthor, another important figure in this entire storyline. He left his home in order to go to Cabal City, this major city that existed in Otaria, and he wanted to become pit fighter there. It turned out that it was his own sort of skills that got him into the pit fights there when he finally arrived, rather than his appearance, because he was a savage barbarian, and he looked like it. He, in fact, was highly skilled at the barbarian close combat skills, but also mixed that with his mastery of red magic. And he also wielded this huge double-handed sword, which according to legend was crafted from the staff of Urza. So it was sort of this legendary weapon that no one knows if it was really magical or not. Little is known of his childhood, other than he's the grandson of an incredibly famous lavamancer, Matok, and he was said to have tamed a fire beast at a young age as a pet. Of course, the fire beast was said to have what caused his hair to be burned off, in which it never grew back. So he's a perpetually bald man, because apparently he tamed a fire beast. So once he got to Cabal City and was accepted into the pit fights, he saw what the prize was for winning the pit fights, becoming the champion, the Mirari. The Mirari just drew him in. It was this powerful object that he became obsessed with. And so that's why he just dove into the pit fights. He did earn 2 friends while he was there, though, within the fighters. He befriended Satan, the centaur druid, and a Cabal caster named Chainer. So the 3 of them were sort of inseparable. Kamahl quickly rose to be a crowd favorite in amongst the pit fights. He even helped out with some of the incidents that were going on. A powerful dragon attacked Cabal City, and he rose up and fought against it. He actually managed to defeat it, but in defeating it, it basically fell down on top of him. While he was unconscious underneath the beast, an Aven named Kirtar that was part of the Order took basically credit for defeating the beast, and he was eventually awarded the Mirari as part of this and left to go to the Order and to their fortifications. Kamahl then, angry at this, decided to follow them and chased after them. He eventually would arrive at the Order's sort of base of operations and find that they had been experimenting or using the Mirari, almost probably trying to destroy it, but not quite, and things had sort of begun growing crystals and its magical energies had burst out, because the Mirari is a very powerful artifact, in fact. When he arrived, Piana and Kirtar, 2 of the Avens that were part of the Order, were vaguely encrusted in crystal and effectively dead. He went to claim the Mirari, but Loquitus, the ambassador, managed to claim it. He was actually a member of the Mir Empire and had been following Kamahl and used him as an excuse to steal it and take it back to the Mir Empire. Kamahl followed again and managed to go as far as this port town where he found he couldn't follow them. The Mir Empire was underwater. He could not follow him. For some time he stayed in this city until eventually the Mir Emperor, Abishai, used the Mirari and rose up this powerful tidal wave which destroyed much of the northern part of Otaria, kind of wrecking that. And it was in this kind of chaos that Braids, a member of the Cabal, managed to steal in and claim the Mirari again. Once again, Kamahl followed the Mirari, this time with Chainer until once again his Cabal friend, and went back to the pits in order to once again compete for the Mirari now that it had returned to the Cabal City. Along the way, Chainer asked him to help with a powerful ritual. They knew that Satan wouldn't like it because it was in a forest and involved killing a lot of creatures in nature, but he was willing to help his friend Chainer in order to get more powerful in hopes of gaining back the Mirari. Chainer was willing to help him. When they returned to the city having completed the ritual, they found it was under attack with some of the remaining forces of the Order. They joined in the battle and managed to fend it back and save the city, but unfortunately Kamahl was wounded during this time. Chainer managed to claim the Mirari and use it in order to save Kamahl. Unfortunately, in that kind of ability, Chainer became corrupted by it and knew it, and eventually Kamahl confronted him. Chainer knew that he had to get killed, effectively, and Kamahl didn't want to, but eventually he forced Kamahl to take his life. And in his deathbed, he gave the Mirari to Kamahl. Kamahl placed it in the hilt of his sword and then went home. He went home. He had claimed his thing, but at what cost? He knew this thing couldn't be trusted anymore. He had become obsessed with it, and look what it had led to. He knew it had to be destroyed, but had no way of doing it. So he just headed home to his sister Jeska and his teacher Balthor. For some time, Kamahl was safe there, but the call of the artifact continued to work at his mind and drove him to more and more violence, eventually leading to a civil war in his barbarian tribe, which ended up with him stabbing his sister Jeska in a wound that they thought would be deadly. Did not kill her. Instead, it sort of permanently crippled her. Kamahl was shocked by this and decided that he finally, once and for all, had to get rid of this. So Balthor and him and his crippled sister in tow, they decided to travel to Dracovin Forest, where they would seek out Satan and Satan's allies and druids to hopes of destroying the Mirari once and for all. Before they got to the forest, they were attacked by a coalition of the Order and the Mirari Empire trying to get to them. Balthor sacrificed himself in order for Kamahl and Jeska to get into the forest. Kamahl eventually did reunite with Satan and left his sister with him and journeyed deep into the forest to seek one of the most powerful members of the Druid Order, Thristel, the Nantaku Ancient. There he was going to learn the druidic ways and sort of trying to master them in order to master and perhaps destroy the Mirari, but he was once again attacked by Loquetus, the ambassador. This was not the only thing that attacked him. Braids, the Cabal, had risen Balthor as some kind of zombie and sent it against the two of them. Loquetus had managed to control Balthor and send it back at Cabal. Kamahl was forced to kill his master's zombified corpse, and eventually then struck down Loquetus, and in doing so, he plunged his sword into the ground, basically getting rid of it, dropping the Mirari in an effectively way, and having no part of it. He then began his druidic training. Unfortunately, it was this point in time that Braids kidnapped his sister Jeska. When he learned of this, he decided to travel to Cabal City to free her, but it turns out that Braids had turned into Phage, some kind of powerful killing machine. He battled with her in the arena, but then a Korona kind of came in here attacking the Cabal City. This powerful angel, the two of them had to unite to beat back a Korona and defeat her. It was this that forced the coalition between the Cabal and the Dracovin Forest to fight against Ixidor. The two of them united in a battle led by Kamahl at this point in time and managed to beat them back and sort of pacify them. Kamahl was using this powerful weapon called the Soul Reaper, forged from a combination of things from his past and from the Cabal and from the forest. At the defeat of this, he had no way of saving his sister from being Phage. He became depressed by it and decided just to return to Dracovin Forest and in order to meditate. He went into a deep meditation for an entire year where he didn't drink or eat or anything and seemingly almost maybe died there until Stonebrock, a traveler, someone that had been there with the pits and stuff, came to him to help rescue things. And he took Soul Reaper and touched it to him, and the energy of his new weapon reinvigorated him, brought him back. It was now that after his year of meditation, he was ready to take on and kill Phage. He knew he had to defeat his sister and rid her from the world. She was a monster now, and he had to do it. He traveled back to Cabal City and found her in a deep battle with a Korona, sort of where the pitch should be, in this epic battle. He came in and he used his powers and struck the two of them down. But he accidentally struck down a third with his blow, Zagatha. The three spirits of these women kind of combined and flew up into this vortex in the sky, kind of fueled by the power that the Mirari had once had, energies that were flowing forward. And it created the false god Korona. Or was she an actual god? No one really knows. And Korona came in the effect, flew Kamahl. He flung him out deep into the desert, and he only knew he had to find it and basically pray before Korona. And he effectively did. He gave himself up to Korona at first. Korona then effectively began to sort of pacify the land. She went out into the multiverse, which I will get into when I perhaps talk about Korona and the creatures that made up her. But effectively, then Korona sought to figure out what was going on with the world. And eventually, she died in a way, which, again, I will explain in a future one because it does not involve Kamahl's backstory. But It was in this death that Kamahl gave up his life, effectively saving his sister, giving her life again, and in came her planeswalker spark ignited. She became a planeswalker, and Jeska would be key in saving the world when it came to the time of the time crisis and the time spiral. So Kamahl's sacrifice meant something for the future of Dominaria, even now. After his death, he'd be known as a hero to the common people, and especially to his sister Jeska, who, when being the planeswalker now, as I said, was inspired by his sacrifice that ultimately led to hers in the future. But this isn't the end of his story also. The Kamahlite druids, including Zist, returned to Kroskin's forest and helped restore the world after what had happened with Korona. In fact, it was a lot of the destructions that from then on they helped restore things, including after what was going on with the time spiral. They sought to restore balance from this place, and it wasn't until much in the future even that some took on his title, the Fist of Korosa. So that's it for today. I talked about Kamahl, an important figure who didn't live a long life, but his story was intense and ingrained in the very storyline of the Odyssey block and the Odyssey and Scourge blocks, that he proved himself to be a great warrior and in the end a great hero, even though he had a journey which he was almost corrupted by the Mirari. His journey in heroics actually helped save the future, inspiring his sister Jeska, the Planeswalker, to make a sacrifice very similar to his own in order to save the very fabric of the world and change things to the more modern version of Planeswalkers we know now. So if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel, the Empire, and the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you can check out my Patreon, linked in the description below. If you're looking for some more great Magic content, you can check out They Said, We Said, and The Card Bazaar. Both of them I'll put links up in the description below, and they are also in my Allies of the Empire section on my front page. You can check out these channels and see their great content. They have other Magic content. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.